All right, so we're gonna get started here. So thank you to everyone that's joining. This is gonna be a presentation or in a demo of the remote access that is offered by Rockwell Automation. So some of the topics that we're gonna be covering, we'll go over the Rockwell remote access solution overview. We'll do also talk about FactoryTalk Hub. It's more of a platform for a cloud-based service. We'll talk a little bit about that. We'll have FactoryTalk Access, an overview, which is the software that you use to do the remote access. And then we'll also go over the Stratix 4300, and then we'll do a demo as well. So, so why remote access for industrial equipment? So this will improve your, I guess, if you're a system integrator or an OEM, this can greatly improve your response time for customer calls and quickly get the customer back up and running. The other thing is it'll reduce your costs for travel. So if you're an OEM where you still have a piece of equipment under warranty, this, instead of having to have the expense of going out and doing a call to maintain that equipment, you can put the remote access in there, and then now you save those costs on travel expenses. If you're an end user, this could be a benefit as well, where you can get immediate response. You don't have to pay for the travel costs, and plus you get the expert of whoever your solution provider is. And then lastly, you can maximize your productivity of your people. Nowadays we have a worker shortage. You're always having people being asked to do more. If you're doing if you're doing traveling and trying to get to site, you're wasting precious time that they could be working on maybe a more important project. So maximizing their productivity, and you can also bill for that time, since he's going to be solving a solution for a customer, that's something it should be billable. So if from an end user point of view, it ultimately will save their costs as well for not having to pay for someone to come out and all the air flight, the plane ticket and everything else it's associated with that guy traveling the site. So there's for the solution that Rockwell is offering, there's actually three pieces to this. There's three components. You have the Stratix 4300 router. You have the server infrastructure. You have the FactoryTalk remote access software. And so if we look at the Stratix 4300 hardware component, that enables the remote access to the equipment through a secure VPN connection. If you look at the server infrastructure, that's the next component. And this is a cloud-based infrastructure that maintains communication between the local PC and the remote network. And the remote network being the cloud infrastructure. The third component is the FactoryTalk remote access software. That is a web-based client. The software is installed on the client or on the cloud, and the revisions are managed by Rockwell. So you never have to install software on your computer. The software is accessed through FactoryTalk Hub. FactoryTalk remote access software is used to administer and initiate connections from the user's computer to the 4300 to gain access to the remote equipment. So if we look at FactoryTalk Hub, that's the cloud-based software suite that Rockwell Automation is developing as their software as a service offering. The offering is categorized into like three components: like design, operations, and then maintenance. So currently there are a few offerings available, but more will be released around Automation Fair. To log in to FactoryTalk Hub, you will need to use like your My Rockwell or your knowledge base account credentials, and then you can get logged in. When logging into the FactoryTalk Hub, you will have the option to create or join an existing organization. In the FactoryTalk Hub, organizations are logical groupings of users that consist of like a team, a facility, or it could be an entire enterprise. As a user, you can be a member of multiple teams, organizations. So we'll talk about that a little bit more as well. Once you're logged into the FactoryTalk Hub, this is where you're going to have access to all of the tools and software entitlements. And the software entitlements would be different software services that you're purchasing. The current offerings that they have right now is FactoryTalk Vault, Fix, and FactoryTalk Remote Access. In the future, there's going to be more like FactoryTalk Echo, which is an emulation software, Optics, which is going to be a new HMI offering, 3D Emulate, and Studio Designer are some of the things that are going to be offered in there. So when we get into FactoryTalk Remote Access, within the FactoryTalk Hub, FactoryTalk Remote Access is the software that will connect with the 4300 device. This software is the central location for managing, administering, and accessing all of the 4300 devices deployed. This gives you the ability to organize devices into logical groups. For example, a logical group could be different machines in the area, different areas of your facility, or it could be an entire facility. Depends on how you want to organize that. You can manage user rights on all of the remote access devices through this software based on users or groups. You can create temporary users. You can monitor audit logs among all the devices. An example of that would be you could see what users were connected on the machine for how long. The device also has the capability of setting up multi-factor authentication. The way this software is sold, if you look down here, we're talking about number of connections. You have 1, 2, 5, and 10. And these connections are basically concurrent connections, which are sort of correlate the number of users that are being connected to, that are using that account at the same time. The Stratix 4300 is the hardware component to enable the VPN to access the remote equipment. This is a full gigabit router installed in the remote equipment. This device is configured using remote access software. This establishes an outbound connection to the Rockwell cloud infrastructure. The Stratix 4300 also has configurable NAT, firewall, and internet sharing tools to allow for flexible network configurations on the remote equipment. There are 2 models available. You can see down here. 2 models, depending on which one you have. You have a 2 and a 5 port conversion. Both have WAN ports, but the 5 port has 3 additional ports for devices on your equipment. There is a digital input for disabling remote connectivity. Users can program the input through a PLC HMI to allow an operator or maintenance person to enable or disable the connectivity and or have the PLC disable the connection after a period of time. So you can put a timer in there, and after a period of time, just to make sure someone doesn't forget to disable it, you can just program a timer and say, well, I want this on for 8 hours. That should be enough. Or even make it a configurable thing through the operator so that it'll automatically turn off to make it, so no one can get into that on that connection. there's two outputs provided, and they can be used to indicate if the connection is active, and when at least one, and the other one would be is to determine if someone's connected. If you look on these devices here, they have a serial port on each one. They support RS-232, 422, and 485 connections. So if you have some legacy equipment that you're looking to connect to, that should be a way of, if they have serial port communication, that would be a way to get connectivity. The USB port, the way it's released is not right now, is more for configuring the setup and updating firmware. So there's not really, that's not able to be used if you want to do a USB to serial converter. So it's not used for that at this point. Is that it? So as for the demo, Kyle, I'll let you introduce yourself, Kyle, and then I'll go through some of the different, what we're going to go over on the demo. So if you want to introduce yourself, Kyle, from Rockwell.
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. I'm Kyle Wombolt. I'm a technology consultant with Rockwell Automation. I'm in our software and controls business group. So software like remote access is in my wheelhouse of what I cover. I'm located right outside of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And yeah, I'm excited to show you remote access today.
So some of the things that we're going to cover is like what we talked about, the Factory Talk Hub overview, showing how that environment and what it looks like. Same with the remote access, how to set up domain, some of the folder structures, and how you can do permissions and look at the audit logs, and how you can set up a temporary activation. So some of the other things on here, we can show you how to set up the digital input as well. So if you want to set up how to get that configured from a remote access setup, you'll go through that as well. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Kyle.
Sounds good.
Let me, I'll remove my sharing. Do you have sharing options?
I do have sharing options.
Okay, so I will see if
you
need me to stop my
Nope,
sharing?
I've got it. We're going to cover this screen right here.
Okay.
Can you all see my screen?
Yes, I can see it.
Wonderful. I'm going to pull up the chat here as well so I can see it. Again, if anybody has any questions at any time, please feel free to type it into the chat or unmute yourself and speak up. More than happy to answer anything. Please do not hesitate to interrupt me. So yeah, we're just going to start off right from the beginning where you would start off as well. And that's first by going to Factory Talk Hub. I'm going to put this link into the chat for you all, because if you have a Rockwell sign-in, you can access this today. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. So I'm just going to sign right in, and it remembers it's not going to remember my credentials. That's okay. But we're going to sign right in. Don't want to remember that. And yeah, so now we're in, and this is what Factory Talk Hub looks like. Right now, we've got three options, and that's Design Hub, Operations Hub, and Maintenance Hub. I'm not sure what everybody's heard, but if you've heard of Design Hub, which includes Factory Talk Design Tools and Factory Talk Vault, that is a entirely free application that you have access to if you already have access to the software that can use it, which includes Studio 5000 or a Tech Connect agreement. If you have either of those, then you should have access to Design Hub and can upload project files to convert to the newest versions and get some high-level analysis of, and it stores it in the cloud for you as well, kind of like an industrial OneDrive of sorts. But that's not what we're here for today. We're here for Operations Hub, which is Factory Talk Remote Access. And just to touch briefly, Maintenance Hub is Fix, which is our cloud-based maintenance solution as well, if you've heard anything about that. But again, that's a webinar for another day. Today, we're looking at Operations Hub. So I just want to go over what we have here to start off with. First off, Buddy mentioned organizations. So organizations are how we keep things organized in Factory Talk Hub. So you can create an organization at any time. So we can just go and create an organization. And what this looks like is you get to name it. You're the owner of it by creating it, and your email, so on and so forth. You can give it a location, description, and whether it's visible on search lists or not. After you've created this organization, what that does for you is it creates an organization structure. So now you can add people to your organization. By doing so, you can then give them permissions to view things, permissions to share information, to gain access to devices. It's pretty granular in what that looks like, but we'll get into that once we get further into Operations Hub. I just want to mention first what organizations look like. And that's creating one over there. Up in the top right, I have a couple organizations right now. I have one I created myself, which is my Factory Talk Remote Access demo. That's a machine that I have that's currently not plugged in, so we're not on that one today. But I'm also a part of the Cincinnati Demo Room organization, as well as the Central Technology Consultant organization. I got invited to these. It shows up like an email in your email, and you click on a link and you're added to the organization. Simple as that. From there, I just want to touch on everything here before I get into it. Also, what was touched on was entitlements. I mentioned Design Hub was free, but Operations Hub, remote access, and Fix are not free. They are a subscription software that we have. And so it works just like any other software. It's a purchase from the software portal. You set the entitlement to yourself, and you'll actually get a notification up here. I cleared them recently, but a notification that says that you've been assigned an entitlement for Factory Talk Remote Access, which then allows you to create an organization and get going into it. But I just want to touch on that so you know where that is. Let's get into it. So let's get directly into Operations Hub. All we gotta do is click on it. And first things first, we are going to see a dual factor authentication screen. So this is standard anytime anyone is going to enter Factory Talk Remote Access. I don't mind showing you this all today because it is secure enough that you can see the IP addresses that I'm connecting to and such like that. And I don't really need to worry about any malcontent or anything like that. This is incredibly secure. If you're not part of an organization, you're not going to be able to gain access to that that Stratix 4300 and that network it's connected to. So I've got a dual factor authentication screen here. When you're setting stuff up for this, you can connect this to any dual factor authentication app you'd like. I have mine connected to the Google Authenticator, and so I'm getting into that right now. So now this is Factory Talk Remote Access. Right off the bat, we've got a lot of things in front of us. Directly in the middle is our domain view. So this is your organization of everything. So right now I've got a couple different folders. Each folder has a couple different machines in it. Right now, these two machines here in the demo unit are currently offline, which is fine. But we do have one, which is the Chicago POC that is online, but this is where you can see your devices, organize it all. From here, we can also see user accounts, like who all has been added to this group, as well as what groups you can make. So you can create groups to really have a granular security system. So let's say that I've got this Chicago POC Stratix 4300, and I'm working on a project with another customer or a distributor, and I want them to be able to access the devices on this network. But I don't want them to access the devices on these 4,300 networks. So what I can do is create a group called project whatever, project X. I can add the people into my organization that I want to gain access to this. I can add them specifically to that group and say this group has access to this 4,300. And that's all they will be able to see. These two devices won't even show up. So the security that you can do in this is very granular, and it's really not limited by anything. So you have a lot of control over it, which I know when it comes to networks is a hot topic. So there's that. I just want to make sure I've got the chat window open again. Okay, we're good. Cool. So what else do we have here? This is a domain view. We can go to devices view as well, which shows the devices that we have here. Only 2 devices right now I can actually gain access to, but it gives me all this information just from this view. What if it's up to date, what the version is, what its IP address is, the last time it was logged on to, so on and so forth. Also, if you have a lot of devices, you can go to map view. So we can see exactly where these devices are. We're over in Chicago right now. So this one right here, the Chicago POC is one I'll be connecting to. It's in one of our Rockwell offices in Chicago. And so we can see exactly where I'm connecting to, but zooming out, you'll be able to see more devices if we had more devices online. Just to quickly answer Alex's question in the chat, currently the 4300s do not come in a cellular option. It is a hardline internet connection only. I do know that there's some possible other solutions to get around this. There's some other routers that are cellular connection that you could put above the 4300 and hardline directly from that to your 4300. But I can't say for certain whether or not that would reduce performance speed or anything like that. I just do know that it is a hardline Ethernet connection only is our only option for the 4300 itself. Going from here back to our domain view, we got a couple different settings we can go over. Nothing too big, but auditing. Auditing is an incredibly great security tool we have as well. We can get right into that as well. So we can see what operations have been done in the last, let's say, week. So we can look into here and see what's been done. So some folders have been added, and I just logged in. That's an operation that's happened in here. Alan Abbott is another TC in the central region that is kind of heading this organization. So he's been doing a lot of work. But let's say I want to know exactly what DGoldbach has done. So let's grab that and we'll search. And we can see he logged in once in the last week. So again, if we need to look and see what one person has done, it can be really granular, what exactly they have done, the operation, what it's been done on, what the target's name was. You have a lot of control over it. And the same goes with connections. So in the last week, we can see who has connected to which device, at what time, for how long, when they disconnect. It's all there. So you have a lot of control over that. And being able to look back on this and see these logs, which we can also export as either just to your clipboard, a CSV file, or an Excel file, is really great for maintaining security. So last but not least, we got the tools page here. We can look over our VPN settings. We can do a device setup, and download goes to a couple of different tools. So this is all done in a web page right now. So whether you are at your engineering workstation or your personal laptop, or if you want to get really old school, a computer in an internet cafe, you can go to this page and gain access to all this information, add people to your organizations, edit settings on your your endpoint devices. You can do it all from the internet, and you're not limited by what can be downloaded on a computer. When it comes to actually making a VPN connection, you do have to download a little widget, basically, which is called Remote Access Tools. And I'll show you that when I go to log in. But it's just a little thing. But besides that, the majority of the managerial, operational type things you can do can be done anywhere you can get an internet connection. So fantastic there. Last but not least, we have the log. This is just some stuff that tells me what I've done, but yeah, nothing too important. So let's get into actually connecting. So we back to our domain view. I'm going to go and connect to this Chicago POC device. I do, what is it? I do want to mention, but Buddy had mentioned that when it comes to licensing, we don't license based on a data limit that you're set to or the amount of 4300s that you have. The way we license is based on what you'd actually use. So we base on the number of concurrent users. So I can have 50 endpoint devices, 50 Stratix 4300s. But if I only need one person to connect to one at a time, then I only need a license for one person. If I have 3 devices, but I need 6 people to connect to those devices at the same time, I need a license for 6 people, so on and so forth. But so right now, if you're ever worried about hitting that cap, about what your maximum license amount is, up in the top, we can see one person is currently connected. We can easily find out who, like when it is or who it is by going to our audit log, going to connections, and going to, well, I mean, it'd just be today. So yeah, it seemed like somebody's connected to switch 1, and that is the connection that we have right now. But yeah, so we're gonna go back to this device, click on this device, and it gives me all this information. So the IP address of it, the version, firmware, all of it. It gives me all this information. From here, I can also edit the permissions about who can actually access this, what groups can access this. So I am an admin in this system, so I can access this device. We can look at the firewall and either inherit firewall policies or add stuff to it. And we can also edit its routing rules, but we don't have any routing rules for this one. So what we are going to do now is to connect to the VPN here. So we're just going to click this button, VPN, and Factory Talk Remote Access Tools has started. I'm going to open that up. So you don't have to open this up, but it just shows up as a little box down here. So we are going to wait for it to connect. But here we go. And we are connected. Well, it's connecting. I spoke too soon. But let's see here. Now we are connected. Just like that. I now have a VPN connection to a network in Chicago. And it's exactly that. It is a single tunnel, basically, from my home office near Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, to a network in Chicago. And I can show you exactly what that looks like here as well. So from here, I can see more information about this network. That's, again, the same information we had about the device. This is a log for this device in particular. And again, VPN traffic, connection details, all the nitty-gritty details that you want for it. So let's see here. So we're connected. From here, what I can do is I'm going to RDP directly into an engineering workstation there, just to show you that it works. Yes, this is fine. And just like that, I'm in the engineering workstation in Chicago. Again, we can see here, location is on the Chicago POC. Yeah. And I'll show you here in a second what all we can do. I'm not going to get too into it, but I will at least show you some things here. So where is my links? So I'm gonna load up links and I'll show you that I can see and have access to all the devices on this network. Again, these are two Ethernet drivers I don't even have on my home links, but I have access to this entire rack of, I believe, if I remember correctly, this is compact logics controllers. This is control logics controllers. My computer is going to be very slow right now, of course, of all times. Or this Lynx is just not going to respond. But that's computers for you. Still don't know. But yeah, we have some control logics controllers here, 1756. And yeah, so I can open up Studio 5000 either on this remote desktop, or again, you don't have to have a remote desktop you go into. You're connected to the network already. So I could open up Studio 5000 on my home computer. And what I will actually show you here is that what should we ping? What should we ping here? Let's ping. I want to ping a controller. We're going to do this EN2TR. So 168.3.80. We'll go back to our home computer and we're going to ping 2.168.3.80, I believe. I'm going to double check that. 3.80. And did I just stop sharing? I think I just stopped sharing.
Yes, you stopped sharing.
I apologize. The remote desktop thing is directly underneath my Zoom sharing bar, and I'm trying not to stop sharing. So we're gonna move. You know what? That works. That's fine. Either way, we have this remote desktop. And so we're going to ping this, and never mind, I guess. I promise you this worked last night. Let me see what the problem is. Let's, instead of that, let's ping the other one. If this does not work, I know exactly what the problem is, because it's trying to ping on my Wi-Fi maybe. Let's ping this .10. I know what the problem is. I apologize. Oh, never mind, we got it. It was just being silly there for a second. But yes, we can ping that, and we are getting responses from it. So I'm pinging this device again in Chicago from my home office in Harrisburg. Yeah, I mean, that's remote access. That's what it comes down to. You're able to get this connection, get this access to a network that you normally wouldn't be able to. But he mentioned some use cases in the beginning. I think the largest one has to do with a lot of our OEM customers that put machines out into the field. Getting a call at 4 a.m. that one of your machines went down and now an entire line is stopped because of it. Never a good feeling. It's never great. And it also is worse when you have to get out of bed and drive an hour and a half away to go to the facility to try to fix it in person. But if you have a VPN connection set up for your machines or on a network that your machine's on, you can just VPN into that network, save an hour and a half of time. We all know time is money. So fantastic use case there. Another use case I can think of is maintenance, just general maintenance. If you have remote sites, I know some customers that are interested in using this for remote sites so that engineers and such don't have to go out into the field too far to apply updates to routine maintenance, access machines. There's a lot of different use cases for the Stratix 4300 and remote access as a whole. Let me go through, I think I covered most of this. Domain view, yep, audit logs, temporary access configuration. I didn't touch on that entirely, the temporary access configuration. First things first, before I forget, I am going to log out of this. And because, again, we have a certain number of connections that we can have at a time, concurrent users. This group has 10, so I'm not too worried about it, but just to stay consistent, can go down here to my FactoryTalk remote access little widget, and I can just click disconnect, and we can see instantly it goes down to 1. I'm disconnected from that VPN anymore. In terms of temporary access configuration, again, we can apply groups to different machines and different permissions. I mentioned that, like, working with another company for a project or a distributor for a project. Once you're done with it, you don't want them to have access to that network anymore. So it's as easy as clicking this minus button. If I wanted Avi Patel to not have access to this machine anymore, I remove him. Easy as that. And so you can grant temporary access that way by just controlling when certain people have access to certain 4300 devices. But, let's see here. User permissions, connection configuration. Oh, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to show you the options you have on your 4300. So if you excuse me real quick while we RDP back in again. But while I'm getting this back up here, does anybody have any questions? Feel free to come off mute and ask, or put it in the chat. Either way, either or.
We actually have one in the chat, Kyle. Do the 4300s come in cellular options, or is it only hardline internet connections? That's from Alex Albright.
Yeah, I think I answered that a little bit ago. Unfortunately, we do not have a cellular option. I know some ways of getting around it. Again, setting up a cellular router and connecting it directly to the 4300 could work. It's not something I've tested yet myself, but I don't see why it wouldn't. But I'm not going to put my 100%. It's going to work all the time and at 100% speed seal of approval on it. But yeah, we do not currently have any cellular options for the 4300. And as far as I'm aware, I don't think it's something that they're looking to incorporate, unfortunately. So just a note there. So let's
Hey, Kyle, I got one question for you.
Yeah.
This is Buddy. If they were going to connect to a panel view, I'm assuming that they would need to have the VNC software on their computer in order to connect in remotely to a panel view.
Yes. So in order to make that VPN connection, you're going to need to have the small little software package. It's called FactoryTalk Remote Access Tools. And that's that, let me see. Oh, silly Zoom streaming bar. It's this basically. You're going to need to have this and to make that VPN connection. Once you've made that VPN connection, you don't have to remote into a desktop. It's like you have an Ethernet cord connected from your computer to that switch. So whatever that switch is connected to, you're on that network. So theoretically, if I wanted to right now, and I had the network, the IP addresses in my links on this computer, I could open up View Studio and get a what's it? I'm get a HMI screen that is looking at an IP address on the network in Chicago, and it would be able to see the data in Chicago and run. Or I could upload a program from a controller in Chicago to my computer here. It's like you're connected directly to that network. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that is one to clarify that for people that use their panel views and how they would do that.
So this is the Stratix 4300 web page. I really should have just done this on Chrome, huh? It likes it a lot better.
We get another question, Kyle. Alex is asking, is it possible to connect two 4300s through a VPN to connect multiple networks? For instance, connecting a remote station 4300 to a plant 4300 to pass data back and forth.
That is an excellent question. I haven't looked into capability like that. I'm trying to think if it would work because you saw how I clicked the VPN and it connected a VPN. I'm not entirely sure on that.
Yeah, because normally it's going from the cloud to the 4300, not going from a cloud to the 4300 to another 4300.
Right. The 4300 is like checkpoints, basically. And you have to have a connection to that checkpoint in order to get through to the network on the other side. But as far as I'm aware, with remote access, you can only connect to one 4300 at a time. So getting to that that remote station 4300 through the plant 4300 could be a little bit difficult.
You probably wouldn't need the second 4300 because if you're going through the plant, now you're connected through the plant. Now you can get to whatever's below it, as long as it's connected into the 4300.
Right. And if you're worried about plant security, again, the way this VPN works is a direct tunnel from the computer you're making the connection from to the 4300. So it can't look up. It can't look up into your network, into your other devices. It can only look down into what's connected to the 4300 itself. And there are network architectures and such that we could talk about that go into more detail about like what that looks like, and different ways to actually make sure your industrial network setup is secure. So that doesn't need to include another 4300 and like looping through stuff. So let's see if I can do it here. I can do it here. But yeah. Admin. Is that the correct password? It's not the correct password. Is that also not the correct password? Oh, I was looking at the wrong one. There we go. I just want to be able to show you the switch settings on the 4300 itself. Again, as a testament to the connection I have, this is my home computer right here. And I'm looking at the device configuration of a 4300, again, in Chicago. But yeah, so let's go to interfaces first. We can set IP addresses, gateway, all that kind of stuff. It's your typical switch setup. We can set IP addresses there. In networking, we can reserve a pool of IPs for VPN connections. Internet sharing is something that Buddy mentioned before as well. This allows you to use internet from the network that it's on. So that way we can actually connect to things like this web page and from my computer here in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. You can set specific NAT rules, routing rules. We don't have any of those enabled on this one. We can look at the server connection. Right now it's just always on, but if you really wanted to, you can set it to a digital input. There's ports for that on the top of the 4300 itself. So you can hook it up to a button if you wanted to, or just a digital input from whatever you want it to be, to actually turn it on and off. I know some people like to have a physical switch to cut or turn on connection, because that it feels secure. So that is an option that we have. That's how you turn it on. For users, this is just to gain access to this screen, and diagnostics. Export logs is normal, and we can ping stuff via here or in our command prompt, like I showed before. So just
And the digital outputs are just fixed. So they're set for specific. So they're set for specific items. So you can't really, they're not configurable. So
yeah, for the digital outputs, yes. This is the digital input, is what I was talking about here. So there's the power and then there's digital. Yeah.
I just want to make sure they understand that there's not going to be, you can't configure the output for certain things. It's either they're specified for what their purpose is.
Yeah, we're not controlling IO or anything from our switch. That's I mean directly from our switch, instead of like a controller or anything. That'd just be silly. So, but yeah. Wonderful. Any more questions? That's what I got today for a demo for you all. Hope that was valuable. If you have any more questions or want to set up a meeting to talk more about this, feel free to get in contact with Buddy or anyone else with Tri-State. And yeah, I'm more than happy to come and talk to you, to your engineering team, to your IT team, whoever it is that you'd like. And yeah,
I'll share my screen again. There's a few resources I have on the last page.
absolutely.
So the additional resources that we do have, I can send this out as well. This shows you the where you can get logged into the Factory Talk Hub if you haven't had access to it yet. There's some quick start videos for this as well, and then this will be published on our website as well, so you can have access to that. And I'll add that to this link as well before I send this out. And then there's some there's a Stratix 4300 webpage with some technical manuals and user manuals and installation guides. So, but like Kyle said, that's what we have for today. Thank you. Do you have if anyone has any questions, please either take yourself off mute or put them into the chat. So if no one has any questions, thank you for attending. And again, reach out to us with any questions or any opportunities that you may have. Appreciate your time.
Thank you all for coming.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks, Kyle.
Thanks, guys. Thank you, Cal.
No problem.